As tradition, I'm not sure, protocol, that's a better word, protocol. Tradition is not the right governing word. Usually in December, we make any amendments to the operating budget that we need to see fit to make sure that the budget is true to what we are spending. And so every December, there's usually a budget amendment to account for accounting purposes within our operating budget. We have a budget amendment for us regarding several positions. And so I'll hand it to Dr. Battle. Do you have any comments?
No comments from me. I will, if it's okay, Ms. Player, kick it over to Chris Henson, our Chief Financial Officer, to walk us through the operating budget amendment.
Thank you. Good afternoon. As we discussed at the recent board retreat, we do have what we call our mid-year operating budget amendment. And as Ms. Player indicated, what we attempt to do is to look at what the needs are of the district as we currently sit, realizing that the budget that was ultimately adopted by the Board of Education was back in the spring and early summer, and so things change. And so typically what we do, and we're doing again this year, is we are bringing a budget amendment that doesn't change the total allocation amount that was approved by Metro Council, stays within that same allocation amount that was included in the budget ordinance. And so you have a copy of the budget amendment in front of you. I know you have a lot of paper in front of you, but it's this operating budget amendment number 1 with today's date on the cover page. And if you will turn the page to the first page, which is our summary of the proposed amendment, as Ms. Player indicated, what we're doing is coming to you regarding some position needs that exist within the district, some challenges that we faced, particularly over the summer, where we hope to be able to alleviate those challenges by including these positions, specifically these 8 human resources positions, into the budget so that those positions will be included in our amended budget as we move forward to next year, and also so that those positions are in place when we need them, which would be prior to spring and summer when everything is so busy within human resources. I'll go over this first page and then go over the remaining pages as well. The second item, actually it's the second 2 items relating to English learner account. We have 2 positions that were formerly funded by the Title III immigrant grant, where the English learner department is able to basically have this a budget neutral endeavor. We are adding the 2 FTEs so we can get these 2 positions included in our budget, but there is a reduction in the contracted services line item for English learners based upon an expiring contract that they don't feel needs to be continued. So as I mentioned, that is a budget neutral change, just adding the 2 additional FTEs or 2 additional positions into the operating budget. And then at the bottom part of the page, you'll see how are we going to fund this? Well, we know in an organization as large as ours, we do have vacancy and turnover throughout the year. So we're confident that we will have vacancy and turnover during the year that would be able to handle the increase here of the funding for the positions that are being requested through various accounts as we go through the budget year. You can see at the bottom of the page, again, the bottom line dollar amount stays the same, $1,105,502,500. And so we're not asking for any change to the total allocation amount. If you go to the second page, you'll get more details of what the positions are. This is document number 2. If you remember from our budget documents, document number 2 is always our proposed position changes. This goes into more detail regarding what the positions are, and you may request a little more specificity, but these are the account titles as far as the 8 human resources positions that are being added, remembering that the dollars column does include benefits. These are not salary amounts. These are fully loaded position costs that are included here. And then the 2 English learner positions that I just mentioned, previously funded through the Title III immigrant grant. Total of an additional 10 positions throughout the district. Then beginning on the next page, we always try to include our detailed line item budget, which is document number 9. It's a 22-page document. Columns E and F of this particular document would reflect any proposed changes to the budget that the board approved back on June the 28th. And so as you go through the different pages, columns E and F would be any potential changes. We've outlined those on the summary page. There's a couple of other really small dollar items where we're just moving some dollars from one account to another to get them aligned to where they should be. And again, the bottom line number over on page 22 of 22 stays the same, adding 10 positions, but keeping the same total funding allocation that was approved by Metro Council. So with that, Ms. Player, I will pause and see if there are any questions relating to any of the documents that are presented, the summary or document number 2 or the 22-page document number 9.
Is there any questions on on the documents? Doctor?
I just have a clarification. I think I heard it, but I just want to clarify. The amounts for these salaries are including benefits, correct?
Correct. If you look at document number 2, at the dollars column at the top, it says including benefits, so these would be full position costs. These would not be just only salary.
And I have a second question. The Title III immigrant grant, has that expired?
I believe it has expired. Dr. Bellamy, I believe it has expired. Yes.
Thank you.
So just one question, and is if I'm looking in the 22-page document, I guess the question is better phrased as the vacancies throughout the organization, those are not necessarily reflected in here right now. Those are vacancies you expect over the course of time, given the positions that are allocated. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay.
Yes.
So I wouldn't go through the 22-page document and find anywhere that positions have been cut. These are just positions that may not be filled.
Yeah, we wouldn't be cutting any positions. We would just be reducing the dollar allocation for those positions, realizing that there are going to be vacancies and turnover throughout the year. So we wouldn't actually reduce any positions themselves. It's just a matter of we're not going to spend as much because we have vacancies.
Right. And that could come either because you don't employ someone at the beginning of the budget cycle or because you don't end up filling that position. Is that correct?
It could be just any position that may be vacant. We've had some challenges with bus driver vacancies, for instance, with other types of positions, and so we know we currently have some vacancies. We're not reducing those positions. We want all of the bus drivers and others to be hired as quickly as we can. Just realizing that we do have some vacancies, and therefore we're going to have some amount of savings.
And sorry, this is the first time, so I'm
Sure,
just
no,
asking the
just
question.
time.
So in case, is there a chance that we somehow don't end up having the vacancies, and what happens in that scenario? I mean, I know and understand government budgets and have been there, so I assume we will have.
Well, we know we have vacancies now,
Right.
and we're in December, and so
Right.
we do know that we have, more vacancies than are going to be reflected here at this point in time, and so there's not going to be a chance that we're not going to have those vacancies because we've looked to make sure that that's the case.
You feel quite comfortable we have the money that we're allocating?
Correct.
Great, thank
Yes.
you. Thanks.
Sure. Any other questions? Oh, sorry.
Lord, I can't even get this over here. Good problem. So I just wanted to note looking at the HR positions that you've added. It looks like some of them are managers, some of our assistants and analysts. And I just wanted to clarify and make sure that the public understands that these are intended to help us not have the same kind of problems we had this year. Is that correct with payroll and?
It is a response to responding to some of the challenges we've experienced in the past, but also proactively trying to build out our infrastructure into one that should reflect a large urban school district the size of Metro Nashville Public Schools. So we're actually trying to solve for two different opportunities here, but including some of the challenges we've experienced in the past.
Yeah. Okay. And so I think sometimes we hear whether or not it's warranted that, the central office is heavy and it's not always true. Sometimes we're down to bare bones. And so I just want to make sure that we understand that we're not just adding more spots to HR because we want to bulk up our support hub, but because we need them. And we experienced issues in the fall that our teachers felt, unfortunately, and part of our solution is to make sure that we've got everything staffed in a way that lets us support them better.
Absolutely, and I think, reflecting a few things, over the last few years, we've been recipients of historic investments in Metro Nashville Public Schools, which in lots of ways have touched compensation for every employee. We also know that through the pandemic and beyond, we've had shifts and additional supports that are needed, and so it has allowed us to respond in that way so that we can, we can adjust based upon the demand that's currently on our organization and ultimately be a better support to all of our MNPS employees.
Great. And then just, again, for the public to know, there are things in place to ensure that you are ensuring that what the person is hired to do is beneficial and that they're meeting that need. And I know that it is, but we need to make it public, let everybody know that these are not just being added, but they're being added, and we're making sure that we're constantly looking for effectiveness and finding the most efficient way to, give the services that we should be providing.
Yes.
Perfect. Thank you.
Any other questions on the document? I will entertain a motion to approve the amendment.
So moved.
Move. Is there a second? Okay, it's been moved and properly second. Discussion?
I would say that I am glad that we're adding these positions. I know historically it's been a request to add some HR positions through our budget over the past many years, since before I was even on the board. And that has only increased as the need has been with our different compensation models, with the different modules that we have to have for payment and processing through the city and all those aligning of different programmings. So I'm glad that this is happening, so it will kind of ease that burden, because we have historically requested those, or those have been requested from the support hub, but we've not been able to approve them. So I think it's time for us to do that.
Great. Any other comments? Aaron?
I just want to echo, I'm excited. I know HR functions were a thing we heard a good bit about at the beginning of the year, and I'm excited to see an investment in this area. I think it's great.
Ditto.
And I also just want to put a comment into put historical perspective. Roughly 10 years ago, 3 administrations ago, 4 the Metro school budget was almost 47% of the Metro general government. Now we are roughly in the high 30s, about 37, 39% of the Metro budget. So, and in that time, which has almost been a decade, our district has increased in population with the students we serve and employees that we do. So going back to the comment that Ms. Tyler made, is that one of the places where past boards have cut is through central office, or now what we call the support hub. And so it would not be felt in the classroom. And if you take the percentage of going down from 49% to 39% over the last 10 years, which is 1% per year going down, and knowing that our population has increased, we have worked very efficiently and very effectively over the years too. So I want to put in comment, I just want to put that in perspective of where we have been historically, the percentage that we take of the Metro general budget, Metro government of Davidson County, general government compared to what the Board of Education has received in that allotment, to also put in historic about why we're trying to also build up infrastructure to meet the needs, back to Dr. Bell said, of the district of our size, to make sure we efficiently support the employees. And that's one thing of HR, that's probably their first, outside of the principal, the first direct contact into the support hub is HR, whether it's just processing your payroll, processing your benefits, making minor changes. And so the more efficiently we can do this, is the more sense of security we can give to our employees. Any other comments? All right, all in favor, raise your hand. None opposed? It passes unanimously. And I adjourn this meeting.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Henson.